Hello, listener. This is Marty V, and I have exciting news. Romance Writers Therapy is now sponsored by Plotter.com. That's Plottr.com. And as you remember from our conversation with Troy Lambert, Plotter is a storyboarding software that makes moving around the pieces of your story in a really color-coded, lovely way, but also very intuitive to use the software. So if you haven't checked out Plotter.com, go do that. Thank you, Plotter, for sponsoring our adorable little podcast, and we're happy to bring you on board. I'm going.
All right, I'm also going. What a coincidence.
Ooh. It's like we planned it.
Hi, Marty.
Hi, Kate.
Oh, God. That's not how we start this.
You said that like the clown in The Simpsons.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It like
I haven't seen a lot of
it. I mean, I haven't
Simpson-related
seen it
stuff.
since like 1992, but man, it sparked like a memory like in the back there.
Thanks. That's actually like older than me. Thank
You're welcome. It's okay that you haven't seen The Simpsons.
seen it since before you were like even like in existence.
Yes. You are not but a sparkle in your mother's eye.
Nope. Oh my God. So how are you doing?
Well,
for the listener, this is Romance Writers Therapy.
That's it.
That's Marty.
That's
V.
me.
I'm Kate.
That's
Pryor.
her.
I think that's everything.
I think that's the important bits.
Yeah. All right.
It's a
How
bikini.
are
It's
you,
covering up
Marty?
the important bits.
Yes, that is such a perfect way to describe that. Thank you. I love
You're
it.
welcome. My English teacher she wasn't the only English teacher I had in high school, but she always called I want to say it was just how she described writing a paragraph. But maybe it was
Okay.
like writing a synopsis. That was it. And she described
important
it
bits.
as the bikini method, covering the important bits but in leaving enough to the imagination.
Oh my
I know.
God, I love
Yeah, she was
it.
a deadhead. She was very cool.
I mean, I don't think you could get away with that in school nowadays, but
Oh no, this was the Stone Age before you were born.
no,
I wasn't in high school before you were born, but you were young.
I'm. God, I.
You would have been
I
like
went to the
5
doctor the
when
other
I
day.
started
I
high
said
school.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah. God. What a gap.
Yeah, it's not nearly as big of
Be
a gap
friends with
now.
this baby.
Be friends with this.
Yeah, now it's like whatever. But like
This 5-year-old
like
and you are
10
going to
years
be
ago,
really
you've
good
been like-
pals.
Yeah. That's so
Isn't that weird?
It is.
Okay, so the bikini method.
The bikini method. Okay.
What else were we talking about? Were we talking about anything else?
we were going to talk about
Listen, I think
enemies
we're in
to
for a doozy. I
lovers.
really do. So
Unless you want to like banter more.
I don't
what
know.
banter
Have you
is
been
that
writing?
on me. Ooh. I feel like I can finally announce.
Oh.
No, I have not been writing. 2 days ago.
I love you.
2 days ago, I said to myself, "Oh man, whatever happened to that 20K in 30
I
days
know.
challenge that Marty was doing with me?
Hush now.
Wasn't I part of that?"
Hush now.
And like as you
do. My goal was to write like 10K in the month of January. And
Damn.
I've done pretty much that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've done.
And I'm feeling pretty good about
close
it.
to that. Okay, I think I did like 7,000 words, and then I looked at it and I was like, "There's 3 days left in January. If I write 1,000 words a day, I could do 10K in all of January." But then I didn't. I thought that to myself, and then I put no effort into actually getting it done.
Yep, understandable. I kind of had the same thing where yesterday I was like, yeah, if I just have a good writing day tomorrow, I'll have my 10K in. That'll be awesome. And then today I looked at the piece and I was like, I'm gonna make 20 minutes worth of like progress here, and then that was it. That's what I did, and it was not the necessary to cover that 10K.
Okay, well,
But like
I
I'm
mean,
really
as long
happy
as you
with
hit
it.
like other markers that
Yeah. And I'm like really happy with like the writing and how it's all coming together. Very much
that was important.
Very much pleased. Having a good old time.
Very good. Okay.
So,
it's not necessary to enjoy your writing, but it's good.
It's so great when it happens like that though. And like I have just discovered so much about like if I'm not liking the actual prose on the page, I just do not enjoy writing. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, and you were talking about that with like having a hard time finding their voice.
Yeah. And like if I can think it's a really cool story and really have fun with it, but unless I take time to like really have fun with the actual writing and phrase and metaphor, I don't enjoy it. Right? Like it's just torture.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. It's great. Did I tell you I was listening to a lot of reading a lot of nonfiction, and that's why I was having so much trouble finding the voice? And
really?
Yeah, and I think
you think that's what it was.
And I think that might be what happened with Never Has She Ever, also because it's been like 6 months of just nonfiction. I haven't been able to connect with much story. But I started listening to Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo, which is really well written, but like everyone, it is a horror fantasy, and check the trigger warnings. Like there's some moments.
Is that the one with the white rabbit
yes.
on the cover? Okay. I know nothing about this book except that.
It's the sequel to the Ninth House. I think it's Ninth House or Seventh House. I can't remember right now. Which also trigger warnings. And I don't even know like if they share their trigger warnings either, because I remember when that book came out, there was a lot of outcry about the fact that trigger warnings were not shared. And that was 2018, 2019. Really 2018.
I feel like that was like right before it became like it started
absolutely
well kind of common practice, especially just among I feel like self-pub authors.
Yes.
I don't know if it's still not quite a thing in trad pub.
I agree. Yeah.
But you are starting to see it,
I think so too. And I think part of the conversation has been like, well, Bardugo got really like she got some bad press because of not sharing it. You know what I mean? Like, so I think the conversation around that book might have been part of what like propelled trad publishing to start sharing those warnings. But anyway, I'm really enjoying it. I'm like very immersed in the story, and the writing is just gorgeous. Like, so pretty. And now I'm already having anxiety about like when I'm done listening to this, what do I read or listen to next that I enjoy this much? Like I'm just creating problems where there are no problems sort of thing. Like there's lots of books out there.
No, but I get that because like you read a book and then you're like, oh, this isn't making it like you are holding everything to the standard of whatever you just last read.
Well, and there was a book I started listening to that, I mean, it's self-published actually, and it's a bestseller and all this stuff, and the story is really interesting, but she doesn't write in a way that like really appeals to me, right?
Okay.
Like I tend to prefer more metaphor and like stuff like that in the books I read. So when it's not there, I just get less immersed. Anyway. Oh, you're all right.
Yeah, kind of open this as quietly as I can, and that's not happening.
Oh, you wanted to make an announcement, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how much. I just want to say there's good news, exciting news coming soon.
Yes.
Yes. Signed a bunch of paperwork.
Yay! That is so exciting. Listener, you will be excited.
More accurate to say, I signed a bunch of Adobe PDFs. Which, you know, it's weird, but like nothing more than like my desk job has prepared me. Like my desk job has prepared me for like life in this one way, which is now I know how to use the Adobe signature function.
That is hilarious. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I already got that prepared. I'm good to go.
Yeah, I can do an e-signature.
Yeah, because like before that,
I know it's
God, nobody knows how to use Adobe, like the PDF function.
It's like one of those things
like
that
PDFs in general,
like intimidating until you do it, right?
Yeah, no,
I get that.
I know. It's see, I don't want to be like nobody knows how to use it because obviously a bunch of people do know, and like it's their everyday work, but like I work with so many people who don't even know how to like unzip a file.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Or, you know, or like use the search function in their email. Or like I've had clients like that and like can't make up my mind.
I hear you.
That kind of Okay, so we were going to talk about enemies to lovers.
Yes.
As like the way the trope works. Like all the micro tropes that work within it. And we were also going to talk about No, I just said that. Friends to lovers. It's a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
Because we think they have so much overlap.
They do.
In a like kind of a way that like not overlap, but like the way that they contrast with each other.
Yeah. Like, one of the things that they both have in common is there is history. Right? Mm-hmm. Like you can't have an enemy or a friend without having history in the relationship.
I mean, I feel like you could make an enemy pretty quickly with like a stranger. But
yeah, but you still have to have like
easier.
I guess you could have a meet cute. I don't enjoy enemies through like meet cutes though, right? Like if I'm reading...
No, and I feel like it's a stronger enemy kind of thing.
Yeah.
When they know each
other.
when
they've truly been wronged.
Yeah.
Well, and like that's another thing that I prefer. Like I'm not a fan of like miscommunication enemies. Or like snap judgment and now it's been years of me hating you even though it was a snap judgment on a bad day sort of thing, right? Like I prefer real hate, right? Like real obstacles to overcome.
Yeah, and I think it's just in general. I want to kind of like go a little off topic because this is something that I've been kind of seeing a lot of people talk about and something I really vibe with. Is the idea that the purity of art that is virtuous. And today, okay, I'm gonna like, have you seen that TikTok that went around that was like, this person was saying something like, I'm cleaning off my bookshelf of all the problematic books and problematic authors. And I'm saying I've never willingly or to my knowledge read any problematic authors. My brain is like clean and pure and whatever.
Okay.
And it was things like Roald Dahl. Yes, that guy. So he wrote Matilda.
Yeah.
A kind of
Charlie and the Chocolate Family or Chocolate Factory. Yeah.
You know. But like, you know, he's had some anti-Semitic views that I don't think show up in the book, but like in his personal life that he expressed.
I know that he's problematic, but I have never looked at like how, other than like through his books, it's very misogynistic and
Okay.
and like very much depicts people that fit standards of beauty as good and people that don't as bad, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have definitely seen, I can see that in his books. So, like, it's the idea that you have to, like, you can't even consume anything that's even slightly problematic or you will be poisoned. And it's like, no, you are a person with critical reading, critical thinking. You can read problematic shit and then be aware and conscious of the ways that things are, you know, you read the book, you say, hey, these are things that I'm identifying that I don't think are right or okay to like rule your life or like whatever. And then you don't, you know, ingest those messages. You don't blindly apply them to, you don't go around thinking like, oh, well, that person's a little bit ugly, so I think they're a terrible person. Like you, the example you were just giving me.
Absolutely.
And you don't look at every beautiful person you see and think, oh, you must be so perfect and virtuous. Like you're not digesting that kind of philosophy and just adding it without critical thought to how you live your life and how you interact with people. Oh God, I got on the ADHD train and it took me far away.
Okay. Okay. But I do
what
agree.
Was my stop?
I think that it's right to try to avoid like problematic authors, particularly people producing now, right? And by problematic, I mean like they are being outright hurtful, right?
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely a balance to be struck.
But I also think that, sometimes we don't do every piece of research before we read somebody, right? Like,
yeah.
And I also personally feel like there's a lot of room for people to realize like, oh no, I was wrong. Make legit, honest amends and do better in the future.
Yeah, like you don't want to purposefully support people who their values don't align with your values, or you think they're perpetuating harmful ideas or whatever. But I think there's also then there's long dead authors whose work is in the Creative Commons, and it's like, it does nothing to just consume things critically. I think it's very healthy to consume things and read for yourself and say, actually, this is bad because this reasons, or actually the people who were saying this thing were blowing it out of proportion. It's that critical thinking.
Well, and also things get twisted in the retelling, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
This is
but
something can become infamous, and then when you go and read it, you're like, that's not what I heard. Like, that's not what I consumed at all, right?
Yeah.
And you can see, it's like telephone. You can see the seed of what the initial phrase was and how it became what you heard it was. But the actual taking of it was different. Right?
Yeah. And the way I see people, so that kind of attitude of wanting to not the kind of taking it to such an extreme of not wanting to support or read, not beyond support, just even read or touch or be associated in the slightest with something that's problematic. Writers look at readers with that attitude, and then they kind of are working with this idea, before you even write down a word, you're like, oh, I can't have my character have done these problematic things because,
I want them to be likable or something.
My book will be canceled. Yeah. I want my characters to be liked. I want my book to be badly received. I want people to enjoy the story. But you still run into the problem of you need actual conflict in your story. And I think people do become a little bit shy.
Now I see how we got here. Okay.
Yeah. No, this is where I was trying to bring it back around to.
No, I think this is a great point to make, though. that like
So when you make your enemies to lovers, you do need to actually create characters who have done something worthy of being someone's enemy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
But
like, if you give someone something small to be enemies about, it feels ridiculous. I don't take your character seriously. I don't take their feud seriously. I think you're a bad writer. Like, this is the staircase it falls down.
Yes, absolutely. And then also there has to be some way to redeem the bad that was done, right? Try and think of an example, because all I can think about is banded together in that plot. So I'm trying to think of an example that like I don't want to share, that I actually do want to share, right?
Okay.
Can you think of any enemies to lovers right now? Because Kate and I decided to chat about this minutes ago.
We just kind of said like 2 minutes before the podcast. Like, can we think of anything to talk about?
But this is one of our both of our favorite tropes.
Yeah, no, definitely. So there's Roxy Noir's book,
Enemies with Benefits.
Enemies with Benefits. Thank you. So it's almost there in the title that this is an enemies to lovers book.
Yes, and that one is. I love that book, but because their like enemy ship started when they were so young, I almost feel like by the time it's like 10 years later when the story starts up, I almost feel like the enemy aspect is really easy to push away.
Really?
I do.
Because I was really impressed with kind of the undertones.
Oh, I think she did a great job with it.
Well, yeah. Well, so like what I really loved about it was, you know, to do little spoilers, she grew up in a trailer park and he didn't, and he always teased her about it when they were in school together, and she was like, you know, always like,
I don't remember
really
that.
Pushed.
I wonder if I glazed right over it. I read it that's so like fast.
That was like, I don't think it's like the root of their conflict. I think there's probably something I'm not remembering. That's
I remember
kind of
the root of their conflict being that they were like academic rivals.
Yeah, that's part of it. He would like they were always competing, but because he always made her feel small because of where she came from and like what her circumstances are. Like in the entire book, she's talking about how she used to have like a big fancy job in the city and she just couldn't hack it, and so she had to move back home, and she's so ashamed that she couldn't get out of this town, and she's so ashamed that
she's still in the trailer she grew up in.
Tried so hard, and and you know, she's carrying that hurt that like he really like. It is a genuine like child to adulthood, like lifelong insecurity that, you know, people absolutely still dunk on you for. Like, that's not what people will still look down on you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I remember right, it was one of those things where he did not realize the impact of what he was saying in those moments.
Yes.
And it's now something that she's carried with her whole life, which I think is a really great point to be made. Is like, we just don't know how what we do or say is perceived, and like other people's pressure points. Because to him, she was bulletproof.
You just say shit as a kid.
Oh my gosh, Kate. The things I can't take back. The things I can't take back, right? Like, oh man,
my God.
Torturing me to this day. Like,
God, there was a thing I remembered recently that, like, I think I said in, like, 4th grade, and I put zero thought into saying it. And then, like, the backlash that I got from the friend who I said it to was immediate, and then it was like, oh my God, I just said something that, like I absolutely did not mean it, and I didn't think it would have any impact, because, like, nothing I said ever had any impact on anyone.
Yeah. It was, so like, one of those first lessons. Yeah.
God, I think we were having a conversation and then I kind of made a joke like, I don't even remember what the joke was, but the response my friend said, she turned to me and she said, "So you're saying my parents don't love me because they won't get me braces?" And I turned around like, oh God, I guess I did just kind of say that.
Wow. For one thing, for a fourth grader to be able to like boil things down that much and speak out for herself is pretty impressive.
I know. Right? The moment it was like, oh God, I need to like actually think before I speak. And like,
just really terrible message.
Every now and then, like, God, I hope that she doesn't carry that with her.
Yeah, no, I have moments like that too.
Dumbasses. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I have moments like that too. Yeah, that like I'll get trapped in it. I'm like, they're a grown person now. They're probably fine and have bigger like fish to fry. But man, I hate it. Yeah, like I hate that I said that.
No, but like, do you ever like look at the things that people said to you and then like you've held on for 20 years?
Because I was just wondering that on the other side. There's one conversation in particular I can recall. And it was like a conversation because the thing is like I always struggle more with the things that are said when I'm not in the room. Right? Mm. And it was my group of friends, and one of them made like a joke about another friend's body, and they were like, well, what would happen if we changed this about your body? And they were like, oh, I'd be Amanda, which is my name. Right. And they all laughed. And I was like, oh, cool. So my body is the joke version of her body. And it's been, since I was like 16, and it's still like, I hate, because then they just retold me the joke. They retold me the story because they didn't have any malice about it.
Oh, they told them.
But yeah, it still hurt.
They thought they were funny, and then they were just like, yeah, you should be laughing about this as well.
Yeah, yeah. And then they were like, well, they didn't mean it like that. I'm like, well, that still sucked.
What did you mean it like?
Exactly. And they didn't, like, and the thing is, like, no matter how they've been, like, because I've told them now as an adult, and, like, they were like, I was there for that conversation, and that just, you weren't being made fun of, sort of thing. I'm like, I don't know how else to see it. Like, sort of thing. Like, it was so long ago, and I still don't know how else to see it. Anyway.
No, I don't know how else you would perceive that moment. I know. Because then it's like, even if you don't think you're saying that without malice, it's like, you are unequivocally saying that you think that.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah, but like also just like how freely we like preoccupy ourselves with other people's bodies. Yeah. So weird. Yeah. So fucking weird. Okay, but I was going to bring up Roxy Noir's The 1 Month Boyfriend, because she does a really good job in that one with Enemies to Lovers, with like some real stakes, right? So we have our hero dealing with like post-traumatic stress, and he's going to college, like he's in his first year of college. As a grown man, like everyone's so much younger than him, but like he's also, dealing with real trauma. And so he's not able to like appear to be putting in the effort that like this class is requiring. Like he's showing up late, he's showing up tired, he's falling asleep in the back of the class, like stuff like that. Right. Yeah. And meanwhile, we have the heroine, who is like a TA, essentially. I don't know exactly, but anyway, she's not like a professor because they're the same age, but she's also teaching this class, right?
Okay, so she is the TA.
Okay. And then she's also dealing with the fact this is the first class she's ever taught. She has like really intense anxiety, and she has this like beautiful white man who just sits at the back of the class and doesn't like take her or her class seriously. And like in the end, like they both almost cost each other a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so now, 10.
Because, like, they are both feeding into those, like, anxieties.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, they're both hitting each other's pressure points without realizing it. And I think that's a really interesting part of this trope when it's done in a way that I really enjoy. But, I won't necessarily say it's the right way to do it, because I do think there's a lot of different ways to handle this trope. But yes, they're pushing each other's pressure points, and they both almost create like a really big issue for each other. But either way, they create each other. They really have a very embedded memory and dislike for each other. And then they end up being allies they end up fake dating, because even though they hate each other, they hate someone else more, and them dating ruins them. Thing. Yeah. Like ruins that third person. And
no, that's the thing I love so much about enemies with benefits, is because like it opens with like the heroine on the worst date you've ever like seen committed to paper. You're just like, good God, I've been on this date, but also like, holy shit.
Yes, absolutely. Because
like every bad date ever condensed.
It's the worst, but it's not a characterization of a date. Right? Like, this is a real bad date with a real bad guy, like that you don't want to be on a date with, but you're stuck here now. Right?
Yeah. And then like, I love how it goes through all the trouble to tell you all this about this one guy who we're never going to see again. And then there's someone she hates even more than that she would like crawl through glass to not have to like
be seen in shame
in the same room with.
Yeah. Well, but like she's been put in this like moment of shame, and so then like this enemy from her past is like the epitome of the person she does not want to appear weak in front of. And there he bloody is. And he like, and I always think like he has the audacity to be hot on top of it. Like, unfair.
Yeah.
So unfair. And you just hurt for the heroine in that moment.
God, you really do. Because then he's like, oh, let me drive you home. And it's like, oh, no.
Well, because she doesn't want to, but like, he's like, I'm not going to leave you out here like this. Right? Like, it's just salt on the wound, on then more salt, and then more salt, and then more salt. Like, yes.
I know.
And then they end up being coworkers. Like, it just keeps on going for poor Violet.
Yeah.
Ooh, another enemies to lovers. Well, I would consider enemies to lovers. But would you consider the Scott ties a knot?
I do.
Okay.
I think he does show up, and he is definitely her antagonist. He is not an enemy up until that point, though, because he doesn't even exist to her.
Yeah. Which I think is a good example of like, he has reason to consider her an enemy, but she doesn't even know he exists. And so like, this is a really good example of an enemies to lovers where they only have half history sort of thing.
No, but like at the same time though, I think, God, I was talking to someone and she was like, that's a movie. Like I was explaining the plot of When a Scott Ties a Knot, and then she's like, that's a movie from like the 1930s. And I was like, no.
I don't believe her.
So now I have to find that movie. Yes. I know, I don't believe it either.
So I'm reading the Wisteria Society's Scoundrel Women.
Yes.
Anyway, I can never say the title. Just can't. It's not in me. If I'm not reading it, I can't do it. By India Holton. And that's an enemies to lovers. Kind of, sort of. No, it's really not. Never mind. It's like he is the antagonist, but like she very much sees herself as being far more like capable and like essentially like, oh, this poor little lamb, like sort of thing. It's pretty great. But anyway.
So you don't feel like they're on even footing?
But they are. It's just more so she doesn't see him that way.
Okay.
It's a very interesting vibe. Like, the amount I need you to read that book. It is just bananas. Okay, so what are some of the favorite, like, micro tropes you have within enemies to lovers? Enemies to lovers is just such a big one.
Tropes.
Like,
it is so big. You can do so much.
Yeah, like, it's like
I do want to say, like, maybe we should draw, like, a line between
what kind we tell,
whether or not. No. Just Oh God, brain.
Come on, brain. You can do it.
The difference between having an antagonist as your love interest and someone who's like your enemies to lovers.
I would say, yeah, we don't include
difference?
The antagonists. We include only enemies. We have to have ill will towards each other. Right?
Well, that's what an antagonist does, though, right?
Well, I feel like an antagonist makes you do things, right? Like, they might provoke you, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily want anything bad to happen to them. So I guess I wouldn't consider When a Scot Ties a Knot to be an enemies to lovers, because they are antagonists for each other. But I would not say that they have ill will towards each other. Does that make sense?
No, I don't think you necessarily, like, I don't know. Is it just that you see this person as, like, an obstacle in your way? Or is it that this is a person who you need to take down in, like, you need to, like, because then I feel like it kind of, on the other end of it, it kind of spills into rivals.
Yeah, exactly. That was going to be my next argument, is like, okay, that sounds like rivals to lovers.
Yeah. So I guess maybe enemies to lovers just kind of exists on a spectrum between these 2 points.
I agree.
And it's kind of hazy.
Well, I feel like it is the blanket trope over, like, micro trope, like, less blanketed tropes underneath it, right? So you might have enemies to lovers, but they're your coworker, right? So it's enemies to lovers, workplace to lovers sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Also, like, that's the hating game all over the place.
It really is, yeah. Yeah.
You know, and, like, even though they don't know each other at first, they just do not get along for, like, the first whatever year or so of knowing each other. And they just get on each other's nerves consistently.
What is that book? The Spanish
Love Connection?
I think so. Love Deception.
Okay.
Is also, like, an enemies to lovers and a workplace romance, but then also a fake dating on top of it, and unrequited love too. Like, I mean, my God, such a tropey book.
Well, so, now that you bring it up, I think enemies to lovers does get paired with
absolutely
fake dating.
That's what I
quite a bit, because it's so much better to have to fake date someone who you hate than it is to have to fake date someone that you're kind of neutral towards.
Or, like, on the flip side, I think fake dating also gets connected with friends to lovers, because again,
I do think that also has a lot of, because then it's all about, like, not crossing the line then.
Yeah. But then there's a lot of tension built in with fake dating. Okay, so if we're thinking about micro tropes that we really like within enemies to lovers, mine would be, like, when there's, like, I hate you, but I can't stop kissing you. Or, like, a hate fuck. Like, they're good stuff, right? Like, just the tension there, and, like, then it leaves so much room for, like, when the feels start coming in, like, it leaves so much room for that, for, like, the physicality really to have an emotional change.
When these people are, like, established enemies and people know that they hate each other and would not be in the same room for more than 10 minutes with each other. And then, like, they've definitely like it's definitely a halfway through the book kind of moment where like they have been like they've kind of crossed the enemy's threshold into the lover's threshold and everyone, but now people can't know because they will be teased mercilessly. People will be like, hold on, I thought you hated each other. It's that at the end of Pride and Prejudice, I thought you hated Mr. Darcy.
Yes.
Elizabeth, what are you doing?
Yes.
Everyone's like, excuse me, and she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, my pride said not to tell you. Actually, I'm super in love with him.
Actually, I don't know how I ended up in this situation.
But I think also like that's a great example of, in order for her, that's almost like her grand gesture is being honest about how she judged him incorrectly and like allowing other people to see her in that vulnerable state.
Yeah, no, I think that lines up. But it's also just like such a fun moment where everyone's like, hold up. This is different than I thought things were.
Another thing,
and then it's like oh no, we have to make a decision right now and figure out how we're gonna play this.
Another one is like when there's the friend that is like, oh yeah, you totally hate him. That's the problem with the guy. Yeah, you hate him, right? As opposed to like when they're like, no, I really hate him. Like, yeah, you're right. You don't have any other feelings. It's not like you actually totally have the hots for him. Like, no, I hate him. You know, like when the friend knows, like, part of the reason why you hate this person is because you like him so much, right?
See, okay, that's not a trope I can, like a micro trope I can get behind. It's one of my peeves.
Okay.
And it, I think, is part of a larger trope that I also really hate, which I can go into, but it's gonna be a little detour.
Okay.
I really hate the best friend trope.
Like when they are best friends to lovers, or just best friends being tropey?
When there is a best friend.
Just best friends. I hate them. End of sentence.
Marty, you are only an acquaintance. We're not going to graduate this.
It's for the best.
I don't know. Like, I feel like if there's ever like, it's so hard not to use or just see a character being used this way.
Okay.
That they are literally only there for plot shoving reasons.
This is the same reason why you and I don't like
plot needs to get moving.
Like, this is the same reason why kids get misused in romance too. Okay, but again, Roxy Noir did a great job, because in Enemies with Benefits, there's that whole conversation when they're at the bar and Eli, the hero, like checks out of the conversation because Violet has walked in, and we still get to hear the dialogue that's happening between his brothers. And one of the brothers starts making like an observation, like, oh, he's entered a fugue state because Violet's in the room, right? And then like the dialogue continues, Eli's thoughts continue, and then he comes back to the conversation, and like there's like the callback of like, oh, he's back now, right? And so like, again, like I think it's all about how you execute it, right?
Yes, no, 100%. You can pull this off well, but there are so many ways
to do it incorrectly,
to make it go wrong.
Well, and I think it really just depends
to make it just
on how intentional you are with everybody on page, right?
Yes.
Like,
no, I feel like if you have a side character who doesn't feel dimensional, and it does feel like, and like you can have your side characters usher along the plot, be like, all right, now we need to get to the next beat.
Absolutely.
Hurry up. You know?
Yeah.
But if we have like, if that's all they're there for, and if they're just, it becomes very transparent that they're just here to be like, you need a man, girl.
Oh, I hate it.
Then they're gone.
I hate
the one phone call where they're like, you need a man, girl, and then they're referenced again like 8 chapters later, or God forbid, at the end of the book, and you're like, who is this?
Or
was I supposed to remember this person?
Or like the heroine's having a bad day, and so the best friend's like, girl, you need some good dick, right? Like, no.
Yes.
No, we don't do that now. No. Not in the Lord's 2023.
No
like we've seen the trope. It's been played out. We're good. Let's move on. Right?
Literally, like, okay, 100%. It is the most, what you just said is the most unrealistic thing.
Can you imagine?
Literally,
I can't imagine my friend giving me that advice. Like, I'm having a bad day, and her being like, girl, you should get laid. Like, actually not helpful.
The advice that I always, literally, like, to the point that I feel like no one's actually listening sometimes, or it's like, I hear this, so it's just break up with him, girl. That is what you're going to hear 100% from all your friends all the time.
Well, I mean, like, and I say that shit to, like, TikTok all the time. Like, it's better to be alone, girl. Don't do it. I don't even know this person, but I have never once, like, heard someone complain and been like, she needs a man to give it to her. Right? Like, I've never thought that once.
So it's like, it's just absolutely out of touch with what people actually say in these, like, situations.
I completely agree.
And, like, they're both annoying.
They're both annoying.
But
they're both annoying.
But it is like, it's unrealistic, and I'm done ranting. Okay. I'm just saying the same thing over and over again.
Do you want me to reiterate everything you've said?
Microtrope. If you want.
I mean, that's just my normal mood when, like, you make a point. I'm like, oh, and then I say it like this, and just slightly different phrasing.
Dang, I'm like Wikipedia, and you're just changing all my words.
That's right. I am your unsolicited critique, so. But okay. Kate, bring us back. Bring us back now, right. Y'all.
We did say we were going to do Friends to Lovers also, and I feel like maybe we should move into that book, or do we want to save it for its own?
Okay. I don't know, they're both really big blankets. Right? Yes. Like, all the tropes kind of fit within the blanket.
Yeah. Well, okay. I think you can boil these kinds of things down. And we kind of talked about this in the other episode, where we talked about when you're layering your tropes in your story, when you're outlining it, is a really good place to see if this is happening or not. Do they add more tension to each other? Are they kind of empowering each other, these tropes? Are they, creating more something that your book needs? That something that makes your book exciting to read? Or are they detracting from one another? Are they conflicting with one another? Are they making it harder to create a plot that feels grounded and realistic, Do you feel yourself having to, like, really go out of your way to create a plot that just to hold these things in place,
Yeah, is your life harder or easier because of this combination?
Yeah, and so, like, if you have tropes that detract from each other, then... God, where was I going with this? Okay, I was going to say, you can boil down your tropes to what do they add to the story? What is the fundamental purpose of this trope? So with, like, enemies to lovers, it's to create tension, and it's to kind of hold them back from each other when they are falling into that kind of lover's arc, That's the thing that holds them back, that says, no, you're my enemy, we can't be doing this. When they're friends, it's, no, you're my friend, we can't be doing this. And that's going to, like, because we'll ruin our friendship if we cross this line, and it gets weird.
Well, and I think that tension only carries you so far into the story, too.
Yeah, no, definitely you need more things, more of your plot to support it, because your trope is bringing the tension to... does that make sense?
I feel like your plot is bringing your attention to the trope. Am I thinking of it backwards?
I mean, you can think of it however you want to think of it in a way that makes sense to you. Personally, I would just put, like, because I feel like you can remove a trope most of the time, and you may need to fill in the gaps where, like, if you have a plot and you want to add a trope in, you can do that. Sometimes you do have to, like, really, like, removing a trope will take a lot out of it, and you'll have to, like, really refigure what you're doing. But your tropes are there to add and heighten tension, the stakes.
Well, I think also, like, that's why micro tropes are there as well, because, like, the reader might not know these are the things that they like about this particular way of telling story. But when they see those micro tropes and they have their feelings that they liked from having those micro tropes around again, like in the past, like,
okay,
that's why it's important to have them there. Like, that's why they came to your book. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and I think, like, when people talk about, oh, I hate how everything's marketed by tropes these days, they're kind of, a trope isn't necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's just a similarity that you can draw between media at large, you know, various pieces of media at large.
Well, and I definitely see, like, what they're saying, but I don't think that, like, I think we're just being more transparent about, like, marketing by trope, but we've always been marketed by trope. Right? Like,
yeah, no, I think we've just kind of broken it down and gotten to, like, more specific tropes.
Or even, you know, absolutely, like, yeah. Like, if, like, when Roxy Noir was marketing the 1 month boyfriend, I know this whole episode is
the
just
Roxy Noir episode.
Yeah,
she's not even
I
here.
know. This is just our ode to Roxy Noir.
Did we forget to invite her to talk about her?
She would be so uncomfortable right now. Can you imagine just talking good about somebody for like an hour while they're in the room?
Oh my god. Okay. I need to, like, pull you, like, okay. So that show I keep sending you TikToks from.
Are we talking about
Game Changer?
Yeah, I love that show, which I want to watch it in its entirety.
Oh my god.
Ugh.
There's so, like, you know, they're, like, always do it, like, so it's a game show. The game's different every time.
I love it.
They have different challenges each round.
Yes.
And a lot of the challenges, you know, like, are kind of antagonistic, and, like, you have to break 50 pistachios open with your hands in 20 seconds and, like, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But then also there's ones that are like one of my favorites is Confederate war soldier, or like a Confederate soldier writing home to his love about a booty call.
Ophelia, you are.
Yeah, exactly.
God, that
which
one.
I richly deserve. The use of richly there fucking kills me. You up? You up, girl?
You're missing the line where he's like, "Well, if I were to die tomorrow,
which I richly deserve."
God, that's just a good monologue, and the fact that these people are improvising.
Oh my gosh,
it's
on the so spot
incredible. Utterly kills me. They're so talented.
Well, because I sent that one to my friend, and she and I grew up doing like theater together. And she was like, How do we get on this freaking game show? I'm like, I think we have to be professional actors. She's like, okay. Like, tell me
easy.
Less.
No, so there's like one question where like the game host Sam Reich says pick a number, and then like she's like 15, and he's like, okay, we're doing 15. And then like, because they were kind of blindly guessing.
Yeah. Because there's no context.
It was like a blind auction themed.
Yeah.
Yeah, just pick a number. And he's like, all right, now, in order to get this point, you have to sit there and endure 15 compliments. Sincere compliments from me and the rest of the cast on stage.
Oh, man.
And then they just go into this montage of,
and they say some really nice things about her.
They really say so many sweet things, and she's like sitting there like screaming like, this is terrible, please stop.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, that's our episode for Roxy Noir
so
here.
Funny when they do that.
What was the nice thing I was going to say about Roxy? Oh, right. When she was...
Oh, probably everything.
I know, right? When she was marketing the 1 month boyfriend, I love how most of our show, like, is just marketing for Roxy Noir. But most of my TikToks and stuff are too, because I read so much of her. But anyway, so she one of the tropes she put on the 1 month boyfriend is I hate you, but I love kissing you, right?
Mm-mm.
And yeah, that's just a very like nuanced trope. But man, I read that, I'm like, ooh, I will eat that up. Like, I want that. That sounds delicious, right? And
Yes.
I think that we have just come to have more realization as like people who take in media about what kind of media we like. And then now it would just be silly not to give people like a direct line in that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I do think that it does really help in a lot of ways. I do think, like, you know, it's not perfect.
It's not perfect.
It does kind of scrape our media, like, literacy kind of.
I can see that. I also have
a little
found
bit. Like, I definitely see, like, the way you want to describe your books or books you've read, and then, like, you reach for it and your vocabulary's, like, just a bunch of tropes, and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, I don't really know what to just, okay, I don't even know.
No, I get that though. Another way it has bitten me is like, I'll be like, ooh, I love that trope. That is something I really like. And then I go to read it and I'm like, but I actually don't enjoy this execution at all. Right?
Yeah, no. So like a lot of it's kind of hard to tell sometimes whether you enjoy the trope or you just really enjoyed some spot on execution of something.
Absolutely. And like again, that's where those micro tropes come in for me, is like, so we have enemies to lovers. Are we watching them dislike each other on page? Right? Like, what backhanded way do they show that they don't like each other? And like, it's enemies to lovers for me. It's not bully lovers, right? Like, these are two very different tropes to me. And yeah, so like the biting has to go back and forth, like. And they have to be on some level of an even footing. Like, there has to be an even power dynamic between the two characters. And so if you're telling me it's an enemies to lovers, but they are friends after the first chapter and everything's resolved, then like, it's not an enemies to lovers. Like, I didn't get what I was looking for.
Yeah, no, definitely.
They can't call a truce right away.
See, this is definitely a thought that I've tried to like dig into a little in like an episode. I want to say like 20 episodes ago.
All right, we're going into the vaults.
No. But the idea that you need to have such a. Actually, we also talked kind of a little bit about it a couple, maybe even last episode that I edited. So not directly before this one. Maybe it's gonna be like 2-3 before this one. The one I edited yesterday.
Okay.
Listener, you should know which one that was.
Yeah. Catch up, listener.
Where you need to have like a sort of genre not even just a genre awareness, just general media awareness, that you're able to accurately describe the contents of your book in a way that other people will recognize. Like, you may think you wrote like I hate to like it.
I'm listening.
I feel like this is a process that is, it's kind of like a self-awareness, but it's about your book. It's about the thing you've created.
Okay.
It's kind of like trying to see the back of your own head, if that makes any sense. Like, to see how other people perceive you, but how other people will perceive your book, which is a thing that you're not really capable of doing because you are not other people. You don't have their lived experiences. But it's still trying to like accomplish that.
Yes, we have commented on this in the past when like other people have like pointed something out about our book and we're like, oh yeah, that is like that, right?
Yeah, and like realizing, like, obviously you can't cover all of the bases in this because it's just, there's too many interpretations out there, but like to have an understanding of your book and be like, oh, this doesn't actually feel enemies to lovers enough to market it as that trope.
Or like realizing like some tropes might seem like they're something of the same. Like the way like bully to lovers can seem like you could see that as enemies to lovers, but they are different. And so you have to have enough understanding of what these tropes are, right? In order to not mismark it.
Yeah, I think that covers it.
I think so.
It's definitely something that I think I had, like, this skill, this practice, this attempt to see the back of your own head, but with your book, is something that I feel like when you write query letters, that's it. That's the whole process. You're trying to see your book in these ways that are perhaps the most marketable, but like you also have to be accurate. Like, does it actually?
Yeah.
Like, you're not just slapping things on and be like, it's organic. Is it?
Yeah.
Does it meet the regulations? But like, because it's media, there aren't really specific regulations. There's no code that you're kind of checking a list off of. You are just kind of self-evaluating.
Yeah.
You there?
I am. Okay. I'm sorry. Just like
no, you're good. You're good. I thought
the brain cell was floating nearby and I could sense it. So
trying to get it to come back to you. Okay, I think we did a good episode.
Yeah. Yeah, congratulations
Strangely, it's been an hour.
I know.
We didn't really touch on Friends to Lovers. We can do that.
It's going to have to be.
I'll just edit it out of the episode somehow.
Okay. Well, I think it's okay. Listener, if you didn't notice, we didn't do Friends to Lovers. So
not really.
We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. If you do a review for us, we'll do Friends to Lovers.
Marty really wants those reviews.
Dude, I would like to know how you feel about this, listener. I would love that. Yeah. Are you there, listener? It's me,
You should
Marty.
do, like, I'll give away copies of my book if you review the podcast.
That's a great idea. Dude, we should.
No, I don't even know how that would work.
I don't know either. But if you leave a 5-star review, Kate and I will both give you a book if you're in the continental United States. That sound fair, Kate? Or am I oversharing? Do you want to take that out?
I would need to think. I would need to think about that for a second because I do have a bunch of books I need to move, but I'm also like...
Okay. Cut it out for right now.
I would do, like, the first 10... Yeah, let's cut
it
out for now.
Okay. So, Kate, do you want to give a piece of writing advice?
God, what have I been saying this whole time?
Kate.
Writing advice. I saw a Instagram post today, and I'm gonna like butcher it.
Okay.
But it was, a bunch of text on an image, basically, and the gist of it was how to tell when you should quit your work in progress.
Okay.
And it was like, listing all these kinds of reasons why you might be feeling disconnected from your work, why you may need to put it on the back burner, and like. That's something that I always have, like, the hardest time coming to terms with, that, like, I need to put this away.
Mm-hmm.
I need to work on something else right now. And I always spend so much time angsting over it, but it's like, it really does feel like you're just kind of hurting yourself when you're just trying to write on something that you just have no heart for.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. And was recently, like, just holding myself hostage and not letting myself move on.
I remember that.
Yeah. And now that I've moved on, I feel a lot better. And I actually like was thinking about it today and I was like, oh, I wonder if I like the more space I get with it, the more I'm like, I will finish that. I'm just not going to make it this year.
Like, whenever I finish a project and then I'm like, all right, now I have nothing to work on. And like, that's absolutely not true. I don't need to come up with a brand new idea. And like, because when you're forcing your idea to forcing yourself to come up with an idea from scratch is such a sucky feeling because it just does not work. Like straight up, I cannot do it.
Well,
on like command.
And then also, like if there's something that's not there, like maybe give yourself a week. Like maybe there's a reason why there's something not there.
Yeah,
and it's okay.
Like if you feel like you've been emotionally constipated on this project,
yeah,
then yeah, no, I feel like you should just. It's okay, even though it doesn't feel like it's okay.
I listened to, I want to say a TED Talk where this woman was talking about, like, get comfortable with quitting sort of thing. Like we have this idea as a society that quitting is such a bad thing. Like if you make a commitment, you see it through.
Yeah.
And she's like, just quit. Right? Like she was talking about how like her kids have done a bunch of different sports because like she's like, you don't like this, don't do it. Right? And
God, yeah. I remember
and other parents are like, oh, like, but like, you know, they're just gonna quit. They're just not gonna, you know, they're not gonna see anything through and this and that. And she's like, good. Like, why not? Like, they now know all the things they don't like and the things that they want to stick with. They actually know they have a passion for. And I think that is like a really healthy connection to make with how we spend our time.
Yeah, no, definitely. My mom is imparted this like life lesson that is perhaps not so healthy.
Okay.
Where you have to see through all of your commitments. Yeah. You know? Which, you know, is very much her generation kind of
absolutely, because like my dad is very stuck on it too. You don't want to ever seem like a flake.
Yes. And it's one of those things. I remember one time I promised I would play a board game with my boyfriend and his brother and his sister-in-law. And I hate board games so goddamn much.
I love board games.
I'm terrible at board games and I just don't like sitting there waiting around. Like I'm no fun with them.
Okay.
But I had promised I would do it. And then like the time came up, they were like, we're gonna do this. And you know, Austin kept saying to me, like, you know, you don't have to do this if you really don't want to. And I kept going, no, I promised I would do it. So I have to do it. I have to follow through. And like his brother and his brother's wife were kind of like witnessing me being like, no, I'm going to do it. God damn it. And I remember like after that, I was like, God damn, I made that evening so unenjoyable for everyone because it was so clear I did not want to be there.
That's such a hard
playing
mood.
This game.
Yeah.
And it's like you really just need to like let things. It's okay to flake a little.
It really is. It really is.
We're just brought up to feel like if you flake on anything or if you like don't see all your commitments through, then you're like a bad person. But like
you're untrustworthy.
You could be doing more damage.
Yeah.
To other people or in just your writing sense to yourself if you feel like you're really forcing yourself to work on a project that you're just not about.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's the whole thought.
I think being comfortable with quitting and like there's the other side of it where if you haven't formed the habit or the trust in yourself to know that you can finish your projects, then probably take this piece of advice with a grain of salt because there is a skill learned with finishing your projects and knowing
Absolutely.
that you can do it.
I was just going to say that.
Yep. And so the flip side of that is like if you're struggling to finish anything, just finish it. Just pick something you're closest to and get it done. Whether or not you're happy with it, that's fine. Like you'll get there in the next couple drafts. Like I've said this before, Just Fake Married, the initial like third act was not right, but I just had to get it done. And so it was in
Yeah,
rewriting it and edits and revisions that it ended up with the right.
For the longest time.
Yeah. And like an entire plot line was introduced at the beginning and threaded through in order for a brand new ending to take place. But I had to finish it incorrectly to have anyone look at it to give that kind of advice. So
yeah, no, and like the thing is, I feel like every project, not every project necessarily, but like I feel like I learn a little bit more about, like, I can go a little bit further every time. And even though that means finishing the book at some point and then like getting better at finishing the book and getting better at like doing that, and it's also part of the process is getting better at marketing the book or setting up what its release should look like, you know, every time you get a little bit further. But that does mean at the beginning you kind of, maybe you're just, all your projects just look like 1 or 2 chapter things.
Yeah.
Until you get to a point where that's easy and comfortable for you, and then you can write 4 or 5 chapter things.
Absolutely.
You can write 10 chapter things.
Well, and I have found like, yeah, I will write full novels, but man, I really like a 10,000 word short story. Like, I really like doing that. It's really fun for me. And so every once in a while, I just have to make sure I do it.
It's a real comfortable space.
Oh, it's so nice. Yeah. And it feels so good to like finish it and have this short project to now edit. And there's just, even if the whole thing is a mess, like it's only 10,000 words, you can clean up 10,000 words.
Yeah, no, 10,000 words is so easy to clean up when you've gotten to that point where writing 10,000 words is easy.
Yeah. God, yeah. Okay, so my piece of writing advice would be probably trust yourself.
I'll take it.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I would say like, if you've done this before and you're struggling through it, trust yourself that this is not the end of it. Ooh, wow. Okay, I just had a moment where like I went real meta in my head.
And then you realize like
I'm giving myself this advice.
Last week.
Okay, so I have actually been having a lot of anxiety when I go to like write a full-length novel that I can't. Even though I've done it. Now I'm like scared that I can't do it. Right?
That you're not going to be able to do it again. But like you absolutely can.
Absolutely.
And you've done it before, and
like the logic is that like I have already overcome all of these obstacles. Having something published doesn't change the fact that I have already overcome all these obstacles. That my writing process is very different from book to book, and that's okay. So like logically I know that's true, but it's the actual like emotional trust. Yeah, that I won't block.
It's kind of funny. Like when I draw, I know I haven't talked about this in like a while. When I do art for myself, you know, I don't like kind of include commission work in this because I feel like it does fall outside the pattern.
I agree.
But when I'll draw something and then I'll finish it and I'll just keep working on it because it's beautiful and I love it and this is the best thing I've ever made, and I'll be like so reluctant to like let it just be done because it's so like I'm just in love with it so much. And then it's done, and then I'm like, okay, I'm riding that high. I would love to make something else that I'm utterly in love with. And then the next thing I make is always utterly crap. And I just can't bring myself, like, I start it and then I'm like, it's not going well.
Well,
I have to like toss it aside, and then I have to like wait a little bit, and then I'll draw something again, and then like this will be the new thing that I'm in love with. And it's that's just kind of my rhythm. Like I'll draw something I love, I'll draw something I hate, I'll draw something I love, and then the next thing I'll hate it.
Well, and it's really interesting because like when I got done editing Just Fake Married, and I had it, like, it had been sensitivity readered and like all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had so much anxiety that it wasn't a good book. And then months later, I went through and read it, and I loved it so much. Like, it made me smile so much reading it, because like I just loved these characters. I loved the story, like all these things. But it was when I finished working on it, I was too close to it, and I was too insecure and critical that it took me letting it rest and coming back to it later to realize, like, no, this is something I really love. I just had a bad feeling at the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that is so hard to like shake.
Yeah.
I think, because I do have a bunch of projects too that I'm like, no, it's trash.
Yeah.
And then like there's still all these parts of it that I really, really love. And it's, you know, kind of like the critical feeling and bad place you were in with something does not reflect on the work as a whole,
or how someone else will
and not
receive
letting
it.
do that, or how someone else will receive it.
All right, Kate, you want to tell people where you're at?
No.
Okay, good. Kate is nowhere. She's mine. Leave her alone.
They want to find me.
They'll find you. But she is at by Kate Pryor on Instagram and the TikTok, and she's on Mastodon.
Yeah, all the socials. Yeah, at romancelandia.edu.
EDU?
I don't think that's it.
I'm like, what?
Just desperately trying to remember what the how you find the server.
Anyway, find the server. If you're on Mastodon, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you already
know. And then you can sign up for her newsletter. Sometimes she does it. It's there. It exists.
You were telling me about your newsletter. You were like, "Oh, what if I did like a fuck, marry, kill?" And I was like, "I'm gonna do that."
Oh my
too.
gosh,
and
I
then
want you to.
Started.
Then what?
To write a newsletter.
Oh, did you?
I started to write it, and then I was like, I got nothing else. Why would I send out a newsletter in like the blue of nothing? Oh, you know, actually, I should.
You should.
To my 17 people.
That's okay. They are 17 people that want to hear from you, Kate.
Yeah, because I'm going to, probably by the time this releases, or afterwards, honestly, I'm having a bunch of free books this February.
I need to do something too. I need to get my freaking Just Fake Married in a physical copy. Those MFers.
Yeah.
Anyway, probably shouldn't speak bad of them.
What is your deal?
But I'm about to.
They'll hear. They'll put your book on an even longer.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I'm about to just bail. Like, move on to someone else. Anyway, it's been very frustrating, listener. Anyway, you can find me at Marty the Author on TikTok and Instagram. And you can go to martyv.com to sign up for my newsletter, which I love. I'm actually going to start doing it 3 times a month because I love it. And
wow.
Yeah, you can participate in if you sign up before tomorrow. So you're never going to get that. But I have a Fuck, Marry, Kill with Owen from Just Fake Married and Truth or Dare, Dares, and Carter from All Roads to Carter. You get to pick who you want to put where.
Is it just me, or is Owen the only one who doesn't get his name in the title?
He's the only one. I noticed that too.
Poor guy.
I know.
You needed to make like a pun with his name, like you're on your Owen.
I mean, that was perfection. Why would I make anything up when you've already done something perfect? Listener, we love you, and we'll talk to you later.
We love you so much.
Goodbye.